Hey, Margaret.
Yeah, Anton?
You know what we didn't talk about?
What?
In Swedish, there are multiple types of beautiful.
Ooh.
Welcome to People Don't Talk About, Young Royals. I'm Anton. My pronouns are he, they.
And I'm Margaret. My pronouns are they, them.
And we're people here to discuss the show our friends are sick of hearing us talk about.
Anton, what are we talking about today?
Today we'll be issuing corrections for our cycle of episodes relating to Season 1, Episode 4. Woohoo!
Woohoo.
Yeah. So I was telling Margaret before we got on the pod that this time around is basically just going to be a Swedish Culture Edition because we didn't get any comments from Americans that weren't within that fell within we don't spoil the next cycle,
Or people from other countries. Not necessarily all Americans.
Not all Americans. But I will say the vast majority of people who do DM us thus far have been Americans and Swedes. Although it's not an absolute majority, but majority of our listeners are still American. So makes sense. But here we are. Yes. And all these people are repeat people if you listen to the previous FÖRLÅT. This person, I believe, first DM'd us in last cycle, and I yet again forgot to ask how their name is pronounced. But it's the little Swedish that I have picked up from the Royals. I'm gonna say Jonte, Jonte, or Jonte. Anyways, but
You'll know we're talking about you.
Yeah. They mentioned how this is the person who in the previous, I think I mentioned the previous FÖRLÅT, they like sent a fairly like long message and then their Instagram like completely fucked it up, and so like it keeps getting like sent in parts like months up. Like it's strange. Like it's apparently had to have been like fairly long, and like it keeps having to kind of like recover what their thoughts were and everything from it, it seems like.
Wait, so it sent one message as many messages months apart?
Or like it's like they're getting like caught up somehow in their Instagram. Like I don't even know. Basically, the word for beautiful or pretty the show is using is a like chameleon word that like can kind of changes based on like certain context,
like the
apparently.
lizard. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Like it really doesn't have a good English equivalent. They say, and like it's a word that can take on a different meaning depending on the context, and the show is using it in very clever ways on numerous occasions. One little kind of reference back, because this person wasn't listening to the podcast when we did our first FÖRLÅT, so that's why. So it's like, okay, this is something from the first episode, but we do reference back to this episode, where basically the words referring to exterior positive quality equating to the English like pretty, handsome, or beautiful, they're used more sparingly, or referring to another person when only exterior appearance is alluded to, as it can carry the meaning of being a good person or like being like beautiful inside. And the scene at the initiation where Sarah is talking to Felice, Sarah fixes her hair and reassures her that she's beautiful. Sarah is using the context of the word beautiful, fin with an extra long vowel. This is a way of letting Felice know that Sarah is seeing her inner qualities without being straightforward. Like it's a type of beautiful that's more cute. Interior than exterior.
That's cute.
And apparently, it's the same word. I believe. Let me check to make sure I am. Yeah, the word is used in the same way in the football field scene.
Shut up.
When Villa calls Simon beautiful.
You said you weren't going to make me cry today.
I just thought it was sweet. But like, I do love, like, it's another one of those things where it's like, as an American, you're watching it being like, haha, he's like calling him pretty. I'm like, no, he's calling him a beautiful soul.
Yeah, that's... Owie.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. That was the only comment we've gotten from them thus far of the ones they've been able to send. So, but you had a reaction, I think.
I did have a reaction. Just owie. Every time, because obviously, translations aren't like a perfect science. You kind of miss the like deeper meaning of words and like the connotations that they carry when you translate something. But every time I hear it, I'm like, man, I wish I could understand Swedish. Because I'm like, this show would be like, it's already a perfect show, but I feel like it'd be approximately 10 to 15 times better understanding the dialogue as it's said.
Yeah, like little interesting. Every time we pick up a little nuance, you're like, how is it possible that every single little nuance makes the show better? It's not. It's like there's a reason why we're making a full-on podcast about the show, despite like that being kind of as mentioned really early on in the run of this podcast, that's a crazy idea.
It is a bit insane.
But it's because we knew it was like dense enough to service how long we've been spending on just 4 episodes.
Yeah. Because we've been recording for
over a year.
Almost a year and a half. Because didn't we start recording in like March of 2023?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then we released the first time on June 1st, 2023.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yoink,
so
scoop.
Thank you for that. Any other linguistic things that Swedish listeners want to throw out there, always appreciated, obviously. Which this next one is that, again, this is going, these are, I basically go through the DMs and most people, there's a lot of people are texting us as episodes are coming out. So these are going to be kind of like in chronological order of the way the cycle went. But starting off all the way back to, I believe we talked about this in like Revolution, where we were, or maybe even This Week of Leshka, where we were like, it was This Week of Leshka, where I was like, according to Google Translate, the word they're using for society, like society doesn't show up when you Google Translate that word. And basically, Natasha weighed in, but also Henrik Schroeder, who's the next person answer to, because as usual, Natasha had enough that I'm sticking her at the end so that we can get to everyone else first. Love you, Natasha. And so I believe I was like, Swedish listeners, what's up with that? And so this is we basically have the same thing on both counts, where basically Henrik says, in Swedish, a secret society would be translated as, apologies, hemligt sällskap. So it's probably the best translation of the name of their little club. Otherwise, sällskap means a small group of people, as in present company, companions, a party of people.
Interesting.
So it's like, yes, that is accurate. Natasha has a dig at Google Translate. We'll get to later. But
Google Translate sucks, but
no, yeah, it's like I've been using other resources beyond that, but oftentimes they still give me about the same thing, which means I'm probably going to a place that's powered by Google Translate.
Probably,
let's be honest.
but
like, who even knows?
Well,
sometimes it's giving us slightly different things, but there's another thing that was repeated between Henrik and Natasha is something I think I might have corrected with it. I think I might have saw this and then corrected it within the cycle, but just in case I haven't, I got confused about the difference between when we say Nils and when we say Nisse. Nisse, despite being longer, is the nickname. It's in the same realm as Wilhelm, Villa, and all that. So
yeah.
This was very interesting. A little bit of American versus Swedish thing here. Basically, like, he thought it was absolutely hilarious when we were confused about, like, how we're trying to wrap our minds around Linda saying, like, you don't pay your way. Because apparently, like, the fact, like, not paying your way, like paying for a special advantage, is a core value of the middle class in Sweden.
Interesting.
And then he goes on to explain why, and then had my usual American resentment.
Wait, like you're resenting America?
As in, like jealousy, which is also going to show up in Natasha's section 2. I think that's kind of a theme of FÖRLÅT, is that the more I learn about Sweden. I know your country is not perfect, but there are aspects as a more progressive American where Sweden, I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck?
We're like, so they can do it. Why can't we?
But he's like, if your healthcare is the same for everyone because it's tax funded, if schools are the same for everyone, if university is the same for everyone, then someone paying for a different service through a private alternative is a traitor to society. You're rejecting the public alternative, which is the obvious sin to like the largely like socialist middle class who fought to pull everyone up to this level. So paying for tutoring, private healthcare, private schools, there's something that's like basically like to a degree like despicable the upper classes do, and like it's not a good look for someone in the middle class apparently. So Linda is saying that Simon is adopting upper class behavior, and she doesn't like it. He defends himself with, but everyone is doing it at school, which is they needed to point out that like that's how the U.S. defends paying for college. And he like called us out with that. I was like, wow, yeah.
Hey, listen, just because you're right doesn't mean you have to say it so loud.
Everyone else is doing it, so you know.
Yeah, why do we have to pay for college? What the fuck is up with that?
It's broken. It's fucked and broken. And then I think this was context that again I think was I caught during the cycle, but just to fully lay it out here. Swedish monarchs don't have special status in the Church of Sweden, unlike the British royals in the Church of England. I think you looked it up, I'm pretty sure, in like Purple and Orange or something like that, where you were like when did the Sweden like become secular? And it was like we didn't really know what that like what you'd found on Google like meant, and so now we're learning. Basically.
Yay!
Also, I sometimes I just love the way that our Swedish listeners talk about their own history, because it's basically it's like however basically Swedish monarchs have to be members of the Church of Sweden because there was in capital case a little bit of a war about that issue in Europe in the 1500s and 1600s.
Woof.
Which actually does align with British history. That's the time around the time of Henry VIII breaking from the church, and then shortly thereafter the English Civil War. But anyways,
was he the one who wanted to divorce his wife, so he made a new church?
Yes, he wanted to divorce his wife, and the Pope wouldn't grant him an annulment. I mean, somewhat of a simplification, but yeah, he then declared himself. He basically made the entire country Protestant in order to divorce his wife.
He said, "Girl
and
boss."
then basically the Protestant segment in England got like more and more extremist. See the Puritans, and that ended up a like pure. God, Alec is going to be so mad at me that I'm getting.
I was going to say, any British listeners. He does
I mean, he does have a certain degree of knowledge about this period of history, and I mostly have. I did learn about it in like actual class, but basically, as part of my like learning about British literature, you got to learn about British history. Basically, I don't know why I'm talking about British history on a.
We can move on. That's fine.
No, but I mean, I didn't finish this. It feels weird to not finish the story. Essentially, the like Puritan majority sect of Parliament was like, the we shouldn't have a king anymore, and then beheaded him. Like, it was basically like a early case of like the French Revolution. It just didn't work out for England because after like 10 years of trying something different, they were like, wait, actually. The person who was next in line, like, hey, could you come back and be king? we're lost.
They said, actually, I can't do it. I need my mommy.
So that's oversimplification of British history with an American English major. okay, and then he's like, the Church of Sweden is a hippie liberal Protestant church, same-sex weddings, gay priests, trans priests. It's all good. So
slay.
And basically, like, Wilhelm is obviously not Christian or religious, but his cross necklace symbolizes tradition, which is also why he got confirmed before the events of the show. It's a traditional thing a lot of people do regardless of beliefs. So it's, which is actually, this is to a lesser degree similar to how it is in the UK from my understanding. A lot of the UK is secular. It's just that Christianity has been so, like, especially like Protestantism has been such a strong part of the culture for so long that it's just like part of national tradition.
Yeah.
And like is barely connected to religion anymore.
Yeah, I dropped out of my confirmation class. Did I ever tell you that?
I can't remember if you brought it up, but
yeah, I didn't like going to a dark room and sitting on a weird old couch and watching Veggie Tales, so I was like, hey, what if I don't do this anymore? And so I dropped out and I took up oboe lessons instead.
So Natasha did just message me, is there any time left for me to write to you?
Yes, right now.
Episode 50.
Bestie,
and I said,
right now.
I said, we're recording right now. And I said, about to get to you. Or about to get to your points. So
right now, get to it.
Yeah, so if you do get to us, I hope to include you. I have most of your stuff. You've gotten to almost every episode that you had thoughts about. But if you do not talk about Purple Orange, we're okay. And something I did want to say, because I was gonna actually reach this at the very end, is because I knew we didn't have thoughts from Natasha about the last episode, even though we usually have them about pretty much every episode. Is that I realized while putting this doc together that we do plan on doing I think we mentioned this before. We plan on doing a cycle for all of season 1. Mm-hmm. And it does therefore follow that there would be a float for all of season 1. So there is one last chance for people to get in like little details they didn't get in, or if they missed previous plots, like Jonta and all that. In any event, basically finishing up our thoughts on Villa. Essentially, he wears a cross necklace because the Swedish royal family is traditional, not necessarily because they are religious symbols anymore.
Interesting.
And they are required to be like legally like members, or like traditionally like members of the Church of Sweden. But like the idea that they are in any way like a head of church alongside being head of state is not a thing.
Wait, so what is it? What
in the UK, I believe it is still the case that like the monarch is essentially Pope for the Church of England.
Okay. So,
or at least that was the initial idea behind Henry VIII breaking from the church, is making himself the Pope of his version of Christianity.
So that's just, why do they have to be members of the church then, if they don't have anything to do with church leadership? I know from my small deep dives that I've done in Privilege and Punishment, I know I've read up a little bit about various monarchs who were Catholic, or like their spouses who were Catholic, and it didn't go well, like in terms of like public popularity and stuff like that. And so it's like, I think it's like at some point it was basically like to avoid riots. They were like, hey, let's just make it a rule that you need to. I believe, because I think it's also a rule in the British royal family, is that you have to be like confirmed in the Church of England. So it's just like this is just what we do so people don't have a pissy fit?
She said, "Oh no, I have so many more that I didn't send yet."
Natasha, get to it. I'm confused about church. Okay. Maybe I just don't understand, and maybe that's okay. But
I was letting Natasha formally know we will have a float for all of season 1, if we miss anything.
Is that still the case, though? Would people still be having pissy fits if somebody was, like, Jewish? And the sitting royal family? Or, like, any other religion?
I imagine it would, like, at least go not be universally popular, because, yeah, because like, a lot of, like, in the Church of England, I'm pretty sure the monarch is still large, head of church, which means that a lot of things are, like, done. I mean, just, like, politically, as still as being the head of state, a lot of things are done in the monarch's name. So it's like, there needs to be a certain amount of, like, if they are still the head of church, there needs to be, like, they need to, like, show, like, faith for that church.
Yeah, but if they're not the head of church in Sweden, why does it matter?
That is probably an ongoing conversation, I would imagine, but it's I would imagine but I think it's the answer with a lot of things in the show. Like, despite how progressive a country Sweden is, there are still some things that just hold on because of tradition.
Henrik, get at me
especially within
in the
the
DMs.
royal family.
I'll actually check them. Tell me why it still matters. Or if it's just a thing that everybody's just accepted, I can accept that too, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just having to scroll all the way back to... It's my usual thing where I have to scroll back to the first thing Natasha messaged us about the cycle. Okay, it's repetition. Again, the same point about the society. Like, the most accurate translations are probably, like, the society or the association. So it's like that is correct. And basically, the idea that Google saying that, like, company is the first choice is like laughable.
Yeah.
As, like, sort of the translation. So it's like it's bad, apparently. Yeah. And then one little thing, she also DM'd us about the Niels versus Anita thing, but in, like, listing out examples, she said a thing that blew my mind. Mika is not his full name.
What?
His name is Michael. It's like Michael and Mickey. It's like Michael Mouse, like Mickey Mouse. His name is Mickey, like in English. His name is Michael Erickson.
Wait, it's Michael Mouse?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Michael Mouse. Because Mickey is short for Michael. I mean, I don't know if that's just a joke that people say, but, like, Mickey is short for Michael. So
I didn't know Mickey was short for Michael.
Yeah, I finally put that together.
But, like, I heard, like, Mike is short for Michael. I didn't know Mickey was. I guess I never really thought about it. I'm more shook about Michael Mouse than anything.
Yeah, yeah, I was. Yeah, that is just a kind of that is a joke from a YouTube channel that I watch early, or possibly their Twitch stream. But anyways, if that isn't a unique joke, then people don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, but she's like all similar to how, like, Wilhelm Wille and that not as common Simon and Sime. Apparently that's less of a common thing, but they made it's at least in the show. And then we get to some funeral practices stuff. She's like, "Don't you have the dirt on the coffin thing in America?"
No.
And I was like, "Nope,
sometimes
not as far as I
will,
maybe."
Like, when the hole is in the ground and the coffin is in the ground, sometimes people will throw dirt onto it, but we don't just have a sprinkling of dirt on the coffin.
Yeah, we mentioned, I think I mentioned that. But basically she brings up the, like, Bible verse that Swedes in the Church of Sweden, like, quote for this, which is it's the "For dust you are, and to dust you shall return." Is a thing that's in the first book of the Bible. And apparently that's what the priest says in Swedish, even though it's, like, not translated in the subtitles. And then he puts soil in the coffin.
Gotcha.
Or no, actually, no, wait. I think she just says that in general. I was like, that's what happens. I don't know if we actually see it. And it was, but it was like, we do put like technically like put dirt on the coffin, but it doesn't usually happen at the funeral itself, but at the gravesite is what I said. And I was like, oh, most Swedes are cremated, so we almost never get the gravesite thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever been to a funeral where the person wasn't cremated.
Mm-hmm.
But all the funerals I've been to, there's been no coffin. They've already been cremated.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Eric was cremated. I think Eric is a special case probably because he probably had like a state burial.
Yeah, probably.
Some sort of like
the crown prince of the country.
Yeah. Like I mean, in most cases, like royals are buried in like the royal family's crypt somewhere,
which is scary.
And then we had a little bit of a back and forth that doesn't. We were like, where was Wilhelm in the first scene of the pilot?
At the club?
That's what I was thinking. And then and apparently like it's a fairly like poshish like looking bathroom, and it's like seems to be like the day after, because like it's like day when they're going.
I understand what you're referring to when he's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then he gets in a car.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, and the last I heard from Natasha is like, I need to find someone to ask, but it's like hard. It's like that's kind of detail that like she'd have to go for the big guns, and like I think as if I remember so far from in FÖRLÅT, Natasha has only been able to get hold of the actor for Vincent. Is the biggest swing she's made for us.
Even thinking about that stresses me out.
Oh, well, except for the time that she contacted that castle.
Yeah.
There was that too. It's like,
I can't even make my own doctor's appointments. She's out here calling castles.
But I was like, I basically said he could have been kept in a different royal holding before he goes back to the palace, or Villa would have to receive medical care, but that does not look like a hospital bathroom or anything.
Certainly not any hospital bathroom I've been to, but
right.
American healthcare is shite.
But like,
so.
it's like that was one thought, and she's like, a different royal holding was a different thought she had. She could be in like, he could be like in the like a different royal palace. It's in Stockholm, but they never mentioned that palace. So she's like, I don't know.
I mean, it is possible that they just like have property elsewhere that isn't the palace that they always go back to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like he's either at like a friend's apartment or at the Stockholm Royal Palace. There must be a bed in at least one of the 800 rooms.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but then she's like, I'm gonna try to confirm, but I'm giving my best shot, and we haven't gotten an update, and this was May, so it's like we might not be able to get an answer for this, which is fine. So,
I keep seeing TikToks and stuff of people going to like where most of the show was filmed for the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's cute. That's all I have to say about it, though.
Yeah. I looked back at our This Week Tellerska for the first episode in reference to when like Wilhelm's having his drug trip this episode, and he's like talking, like referencing probably like the potentially like the opening scene in the nightclub. In the actual Swedish, we clarified, Natasha clarified, because I don't know how consistent subtitles are on this, because it wasn't really in the Swedish. It was hard to tell. But it was like basically the other guy at the nightclub was pissed off because Willa didn't want to speak with him. So like that, I think I might have either like misspoke, or like we were trying to figure out what the hell it all meant, but it was like, yeah. Anyways, that's just it still probably is what that is, but it's like he could just be even more tripping even more than we thought he was. And apparently, she's like, Dasha said, heard in an interview that the thing with the turf and eating it was something that Raja and Edwin spoke about, and the grass bits looked a bit like caviar, and so in his high state, that's why he eats it.
I get it, but yucky.
Yeah. All right. Swedish burial practices, part 2. About Villa being away between the episode 3 and episode 4. In Sweden, we don't bury the dead quickly at all. The normal amount of time for a non-royal person to get buried is about 4 to 6 weeks. But I checked the Swedish royal funerals and how close to death they have been, and in general, it seems to have been is a shorter time span when it comes to royalties. 3 weeks seems to be about the average. We don't know if apparently we don't know if the dinner at the castle is the same day as the funeral. I think it's not, because that would likely have been there would likely have been a reception the same day. But let's say it's the day after, so we can assume Vill's been away for about 3.5 weeks. That also goes with the timeline of events of the semester, just based on events later in the season.
Yeah,
it fits.
3 weeks.
Simon being weird about Will and not texting him makes more sense now.
Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, 3 weeks is valid.
I'm looking up what the average time is in America. So, for context, the reason why I was so shook by 4 to 6 weeks and then 3 weeks is, in the U.S., funerals typically take place within 1 week of death. Which means that if the person is getting buried, that is at the funeral. So the person will be buried within a week or two of when they died. Or if they're cremated, it'll be around that same time as well.
Yeah, Natasha didn't necessarily go into the reasons for it. I don't know if it's like a cultural thing. Who knows? But, yeah. Got a clarification on Edwin's surname. Gotta try. Got reading.
All right.
Yeah. I gonna keep trying. I think we also got Maltes. My name later too. Okay. All right. At some point we talked about I think we asked about what university is like in Sweden. To go to university in Sweden doesn't cost anything. You can get a state study grant and study loan. You can get the grant only if you, for instance, work at the same time and or live cheap or for free. So it's not like easy to do it totally easy to do it like for no money, but it's considerably cheaper.
You're not staring down the eyes of $35,000 of debt.
You at least get a guarantee of some kind from the government. And I was like, not me seething with jealousy. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm a little pissy about that as I'm filling out grad school applications.
Well, I don't know if that counts for graduate school, at least.
Well,
at least
okay, undergrad fucked me over real good as well, so...
No, fair, yeah. And then we had context... I was like... I think this is in 11 Royals, where I was like talking about like pre-divorce, what Mika's financial contribution could have been, and whether Linda got a job. Turns out there actually is a hint later, like much later on in the show, as to what Linda's job actually is, which I did not actually know. But I guess maybe it's because like in context I didn't realize. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. In context, I didn't realize in a later episode, in a later season, she's wearing scrubs. There's a nurse's sign on it. So, yeah. I never connected that actually. But okay. And then basically other additional context, there are hardly any housewives in Sweden except for the richest and maybe for the poorest who like can't get a job for some reason.
Wait, there's hardly what?
Any housewives. So like, There was no question of whether or not Linda was working while they were married,
Gotcha.
apparently. And then a bit of context that is about a bonus episode, but it was within the cycle. It was and it's not spoilery. She says that she might have heard that like the very beginning of It Takes People to Remain Sane, when he's like singing really when Omar's singing really softly, was in studio because they couldn't have it pick up when it was that soft.
That would make sense.
And then but the rest has been the rest of the stuff is live.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and she was like, as a singer, I totally get that. If I was singing solo without a microphone and it's quite high, which It Takes People to Remain Sane is, there's something in my backbone that tells me I should sing out loud, even if I'm supposed to be singing piano or pianissimo. Like trying to like have, like when you're used to singing with good support, trying to figure out how to like sing very quietly that high is difficult. And also Natasha agrees. It was good they didn't use symphony in the series.
That would have been so chaotic.
And then
great song wouldn't have worked.
Yes. And then also a detail about Remember. I'm sorry, I might also be going back on my promise. I realized that did not make you cry. Apparently she read or heard, like hearsay, don't have a source for this. Natasha read or heard that when Eric drives Villa to Hilerska in an earlier version of the script, they were listening to Remember in the car.
Fuck me.
And like both of them are like maybe just Eric is singing along with it. And so there could be like an extra meaning to Remember. And then she's like potentially like in that version of the show, it's like, or even like in the version we get, like the royal court might have actually had a hand in picking Remember for the choir, if that was like a song that Eric liked.
Yeah.
So.
Owie.
Yeah. Owie.
I'm sorry.
I had.
Why are Minecraft?
Where you went? Oh, you scrolled down. You looked down a little bit, but
yeah, because I saw Minecraft, and I said, "I like Minecraft."
We'll jump down.
Tell me about this Minecraft.
Trying to. There we go.
Oh my god!
If I remember, I'll post it on Instagram when this episode goes live.
I want my Steve to be Willow. I want my Steve to be Wilhelm.
Yeah, that was sent to be my Natasha with no context, and I just said adorable.
Okay. I fucking love Minecraft. My pride and joy is my aquarium that I built on my survival world. It's my pride and joy.
Basically, other context. I think I did. I know I expressed confusion about this in an early episode, and I think I fixed it for myself. But Sarah is only about a year older than Simon.
Yeah,
I get that now. But that was the clarification. And then she's like reference to my earlier point. Like he has been away from school for probably 3 to 4 weeks, between episode 3 and episode 4. She's like, nevertheless, that doesn't mean he's actually been grieving. And I was like, Natasha, you get what we're putting down.
Yeah.
And about selling drugs in Sweden. It's a felony to sell drugs in Sweden, of course. Which wasn't what I was getting at when I asked that question, but fair enough. I was like, is there a difference in like minor court, like juvenile? Is there a juvenile detention system? Whatever. We can still get context in that later. But yeah,
I mean,
fair enough.
If you're being convicted of a felony in the United States and you're 16, frequently you will be tried as an adult regardless.
Right. No.
So.
But also that is the U.S. So I have no.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. justice system isn't a justice system, so
it's quite punitive.
Yeah. It's a punishment system, but yeah.
Yeah. And I know this will probably make Margaret uncomfortable to talk about, so I will do it very quickly. But I think it is important as a
I
PSA.
see this point and I like this point, so we can talk about this.
Yeah, basically the question about like Margaret threw out their pet theory that Felice is to some capacity, like at least on the spectrum of asexuality.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the question was asked is like, what about the fact that like in her sex scene with August, she is clearly attempting to pleasure herself.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, it might seem counterintuitive, and Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, as the ace one on this podcast, but like that almost, in my mind, is actually potentially can be argued as more credence for your theory.
So not every asexual person is like me and can't fathom the idea of sexual pleasure. Or maybe you've picked up on that little tidbit about me. Some ace people enjoy having sex. Some ace people enjoy sexual pleasure without having sex with another individual, aka masturbating or self-pleasure.
Yes.
So I mean, it could also just be that August is bad at sex, which if you look at him wouldn't be a far leap, but it could also be that
she's not really receiving pleasure.
So she's like, I'll take this quite literally into my own hands.
Yeah, because it's like, because also like, it's actually largely refers to, like, I mean, it refers to sexual attraction, like to other people. So it's like your ability to pleasure yourself is separate.
Yeah.
From that, and is like entirely like it's like another thing. It's like, but like to elaborate a little bit, in case there is confusion, from my understanding of this issue, is that like there are ace people who they enjoy like pleasuring their partner, and that's the enjoyment they get out of sex. There are some people who just like don't feel the physical attraction, but get something out of it. And so it's a spectrum. There's nuances. There's everyone's complicated in their own unique and individual way.
Yeah, not everybody is as sex repulsed as yours truly.
And there's a lot of ways to be ace.
But it is a good question. It's something that comes up frequently, even within the ace community.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
It's a fair point.
Yeah. Natasha then made reference to me mentioning that in terms of like watching through the whole series like without it being mediated by our action, I've basically only done it twice. With like the exception
that's
of the pilot,
outrageous
which I've also
to
done.
me.
But it's like I've watched reactions many times, and you'll hear in a future episode that actually has gone up. Well, not really, no, because it was mediated through a reaction. It's not actually gone up to 3 times. But I did do a fairly big binge recently. But I've just seen enough reactions that I know the show backwards and forwards without having actually sat down to rewatch it a lot of time.
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Also, she included the pronunciation of Malta's name. The biggest thing about it is that something in my brain sees the E at the end and does want to do what in the International Phonetic Alphabet is called a schwa, which is like an
a what
sound?
A
schwa. A schwa. Yeah. It's like an sound.
Okay.
Like the vowel in the word look. Probably,
Gotcha.
I think. But yeah. And so like I see an E at the end of the word, I think vaguely Nordic, and I'm like, oh, that's probably what it is. But every time I hear a Swedish person, and every time I listen close in Wales, it's a little bit more of an A sound. But I feel like it's an A sound that is so short that it's at least within our specific accent of American English, I have found myself unable to do it without slipping into making it very strongly Midwestern U.S. Because like I always say that's why if people always hear say villa, because trying to say ville, I always want to go ville, like really lean heavily into that vowel.
Yeah, sort of like a bag situation.
A little bit. I say bag, but it.
Good.
Yeah. I do think I have a fairly reserved Midwestern accent, but other people can be the judge of that. And my cousins have made fun of me for my accent But it's like, it's one of those things I have zero context. I've basically been
I don't
born
think
and
you
raised in the
have
same
a
place.
very strong accent.
No.
I think we definitely went to school with people who have a stronger one.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of like the neutral American accent, like the neutral vowels of the American accent, I think I'm fair and like closer to that. Although
I mean, we obviously have an American accent, but I'm talking specifically the Midwest.
No, fair, yeah. But also like the neutral American accent is also heavily based in the Midwestern one too. So it's like it's you go back and forth.
I wish I had the Boston accent. I grew up there. I feel like I should have it, but I don't, and it's really sad to me.
Yeah. It'd be really cool if you could just slip into it occasionally.
God, I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, like one of my favorite online like personality like YouTubers is from Long Island and just will slip deep
Such
into
a good
Long
accent.
Island accent whenever they want. And then her husband is from Georgia, and so he does a great Southern, and I'm just like, God.
The New England accents are some of the best American accents. I really like. Cool. I really enjoy them. They're very over the top, and I love it.
Yeah. All right. Very few points left.
Okay.
Regarding August filming, largely, basically, Natasha's kind of weighing in and being like, interpretation largely makes sense of if it, like, he's probably filming so that he is not seen through the window, potentially, and is mostly like filming to like catch who it is, who is with the prince, in order to implicate them, and it is probably going to be part of like the on the table situation, like basically just kind of concurring with that read of motivation. And then it was very funny. Natasha's autocorrect corrected some words to they're very, very close. I don't even think, probably not even Swedish equivalents, but just words that are spelled similarly in Swedish. And so
I thought it was you reading that, because I would have been fucked. I'd been like, excuse me?
Yeah, it was like had is had, raison is reason, horse is his. Like, it's just like these little things that
It's fair.
And then the one last thing that was messaged to me while we were recording is extinction of Swedish noble families. The word they use in Swedish isn't as serious as extinction, apparently. It's more of like the dying out of the families.
Still ridiculous to say, though.
It is still ridiculous. Connotation-wise, I get what she means.
Yeah.
I stand by that. It's about as ridiculous, though.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that floats. I always misjudge how long these are going to take, but
yeah.
We're good. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
If you'd like to keep up to date with when we release other new episodes and other pod-related announcements, you can check out our Instagram or our threads at People Don't Talk About. Our next mainland episode will be This Week at Hilarska for Season 1, Episode 5.
Woohoo! New episode!
And there's also a bonus episode, but I'm just going to keep it an absolute secret.
Is it the one I think it is?
I don't... Though it's the one we've recorded already.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That one was wild.
Yeah. It was wild. It's another little slightly experimental thing. So we'll see how it goes. And with that, all I have to say is, let's start a revolution, baby.